Hello, hello. It's me, Dr. Catherine Toomer, family medicine community health physician and founder of Total Weight Care Institute, and of course, your host of the Dr. Toomer Talks Show every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And I wanted to, and so if you're listening, tell me where you are, say hello, tell me where you're listening from. If it's your first time, thank you for joining. Hope you join again. And if you're watching later, just put hashtag replay so I know that you've seen it. And also share it with family and friends if you find the information interesting. You can also follow me on Facebook or follow me on YouTube. It's Dr. Toomer, and you can share and subscribe there as well. So today I want to talk about weight loss and when it's not good. Now, I of course I help people lose weight, and I help people lose significant amount of weight. I myself have lost over 100 pounds and have kept it off, and I hope in a very healthy way. But even if overall everything's healthy, sometimes it's not. And it's really important to understand when something is a healthy process and when it isn't, because it defeats the whole purpose. Weight loss should be a healthy process because adipose or fat in our body actually causes us a lot of problems. So when we lose that fat, it does improve our health as long as it's done in a healthy way and for a healthy reason. But because we live in a society where thinness is so valued and has so much currency, we start losing weight. People are like, oh my gosh, you look great, whether it's for a good reason or not. There are people who are on chemotherapy who start losing weight. If they don't, and if no one can tell for any other reason, they're like, oh wow, you look great. Or drug use actually can cause weight loss. There's lots of different things that aren't really healthy. So healthy weight loss should really be about 1 to 2 pounds a week. Anything more than that is should be watched very closely. Now, of course, that also depends on what percentage of your body weight that is. The more weight you have to lose, the faster you'll lose it initially. But generally, half a pound to 2 pounds a week is really what's considered a healthy pace at losing weight. And I know that we see a lot of stories on the internet about all these different ways that people are losing weight and how quickly they're losing weight, when in fact a lot of that, one, is probably not true because it's biologically impossible, or it's done in a very unhealthy way. And so if you start losing weight and it's not intentional, you're really not trying to lose weight. Or even if you're trying to lose weight and you're like, you know what, I'm kind of tired, this isn't really something that isn't feeling very good, then it's probably a process that's not too good for you. So fatigue is a good sign. If you're starting to get tired, even in your process, then there's something that needs to change. Usually, though, when people drop their calories too fast, number one, they drop too fast. That is often what causes the fatigue, because when we drop our calories, we stop eating. We also stop drinking. And dehydration is also a way that people lose weight, drops numbers on a scale, but it's not a good reason. It's another reason why, if you have other symptoms like diarrhea and you're losing water, your weight will come down, but it's not for a good reason. Another is thyroid. Now, when we have hyperthyroidism, our thyroid controls our metabolism. So when our thyroid starts becoming overactive, our metabolism becomes overactive. And often we can't eat enough to sustain our daily activities. And so our weight starts to drop. But often what comes along with this are palpitations, racing heart rate, uh, hot flashes, feeling um, like being overwhelmed, like you're getting these waves of dizziness or disorientation. And that can come along with hyperthyroidism, but that can also not happen, and you just start losing weight and you just start noticing your weight coming down rather rapidly. It's really important then to get your thyroid checked. Another is if your weight's coming down and you start noticing you're thirsty all the time and you're urinating all the time. Diabetes can cause weight gain. Now, I talk a lot about diabetes causing weight gain, which is very common also, but it can also cause weight loss. And so when that happens and you have thirst and urination, a lot of urination, then it's really important to then get checked for that. Um, but usually in a weight loss process, now the other is There's a couple things that can happen. Mainly what I see is people just dropping their calories much too low, and that is bad for a couple of reasons. It can cause malabsorption, which is basically means that you're nutritionally deficient. Now, if it's caused by a biological reason, like you just have a malabsorption syndrome, then that can cause weight loss and it's no fault of your own. But if you're under eating and you're also undernourished, then yes, that is an issue. But it also can cause muscle wasting. So you lose weight, but you lose muscle and you don't get the nutrients you need. And so the combination actually becomes a really, it's starvation essentially, and it becomes a really unhealthy process. Another weight loss that when it's unexplained that you really want to make sure that you get checked, are there different types of cancers that can cause weight loss? So if you're trying to lose weight, honestly, if you're trying to lose weight and you're losing weight way faster than you should, then there's something you're doing overdoing and you should probably pull back. If you're not trying to lose weight and you're starting to notice your weight drop, it's really important then to talk to your doctors about why that is happening. There's lots of biological reasons why that could be the case, and you want to know why that is. And I want to say hi to Chris. Thank you for joining me. And hello, Tanya. Yes, I'm trying to teach. So I love to teach. So that's what I'm doing tonight. But those are the biological reasons. But there's also psychological reasons that your weight can drop that you also want to get checked out. And I talk a lot about stress and how stress causes weight gain. Well, stress, if you don't eat, and if your cortisol doesn't respond in the way that it does for most people, stress can actually cause your weight to go down. Stress, depression, um, anxiety are all things that can cause your weight to change. But if your weight drops, it can also be something that's an issue. And it's important to find out why and then to get that corrected. There are screening mechanisms. You can talk to your primary care doctors. They can often screen you and even start your treatment if necessary, get you counseling, whatever is necessary. Because what you don't want to happen is to tie your psychological issues to food. That is a good setup or a bad setup for an eating disorder. And we don't want to see that happen because it's really hard when you need to eat and then you have an eating disorder or some psychological issue tied to food, because then it becomes really hard to understand or get to the point where you need to eat and you can eat in a healthy way. But the other psychological thing that happens, and you see people starting to notice, you start noticing your weight dropping and maybe not even realize it's happening, is when you start comparing yourself to other people, wanting to look a certain way, wanting to be a certain way. So you start changing your eating without noticing, or you start avoiding food without even noticing. If you start noticing that you're looking at other people thinking, I wish I looked like that, I wish I could do that, and you start noticing changes in your weight when you're not actually actively trying, think about the psychological effect that may be having on you. The other is looking at weight as a fix for self-worth. Now, this is a huge one because we often think, and this is the reason why I do what's called a biopsychosocial approach to weight loss, because people come to me for weight loss. Weight in and of itself is simply a symptom of something else. It's not the cause of anything. Maybe it causes some joint pain because, your joints are weight bearing, or it might cause some inflammation because fat in our system puts out hormones that causes inflammation. But in and of itself, weight is a symptom usually of something else, and then it causes something else. The symptom that it is, or it's caused by psychologically, is, like I've mentioned before, stress. But people often feel like their weight is tied to their self-worth. And so they'll come to me and say, this is a problem in my life. And I'm sure if I lose weight, it's going to fix that problem. And usually that's not true. Now, often what happens when people lose weight, they may change how they view themselves in a way so that they're empowered, or if it's done correctly, then they can feel empowered in ways that affect them in other parts of their lives. But in and of itself, weight in and of itself is not the fix. And psychologically, it can be very dangerous if people feel like their lives will be fixed by losing weight. Again, that's weight isn't the cause, it's just the symptom. So you still have to go after the cause of why things are the way they are. And then, of course, the social reasons for losing weight are not always the best, particularly if you're doing it to look for validation or trying to lose rapidly for an event. Now, I see this a lot. I'm about to get married. I'm going to my class reunion. I mean, now this is the thing. We're all human, and I'm not going to judge. I mean, I've done it. Everybody's done it. Oh my goodness, I got a trip coming up. And I'm going to start eating a little healthier, start exercising a little bit more. That's fine if you do it in a healthy way. But if you're only doing it for an event and then you stop as soon as the event is over, I mean, as long as it's done in a healthy way and not done by starvation, then at least your body doesn't go through this yo-yoing and cause all sorts of problems with your metabolism. But it's always important, and this is something I've repeated over and over and over again. Biopsychosocial. If you want to know what to do, always ask why something happens. Not what happens, but why. And so if you look at something, the biology of why something happens, the psychology of why something happens, the sociology of why something happens, then it's really it's really easy then to understand, one, how to prevent it, how to reverse it, and how to keep it healthy. And so again, when weight loss is done too rapidly, which is more than 2 pounds a week, when weight loss is because of starvation, when weight loss is because of some maladaptive behavior or some maladaptive psychological reason for wanting to be thinner, then yes, then it's unhealthy no matter what the results. So I just want to say thank you for those of you who are here, Val and T and Maria, Tanya again, and Chris. Please again, let me know where you are. Just tell me hi, and this is a good time to start asking your questions. Seems to be a little shorter. Usually I go a little longer. For the last couple of times, I've been kind of doing this short, sort of like medical minutes. But I guess I'm getting better at getting my points across, so that's a good thing. But if you have any questions about this or other things, ask me now, or you can write questions in my YouTube channel. I always check that, as well as my Facebook groups. So hello, Val from Eugene, Oregon. Hi from Texas, Lauren. Fort Worth, Texas. We've got a lot of Texas folks today. And from Lawton, Oklahoma. Thank you for joining. So again, if you have questions, I know this was pretty quick. I need to start expanding my talks like I used to. Okay, you're welcome, Gertrude. Thank you for joining. Well, if there aren't any questions, we might just have a short night because people are going to be signing off thinking, what happened? Where'd you go? Can obesity in women be tied to sexual abuse or trauma? Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, most people, when I see anyone, particularly who's morbidly obese, meaning that their BMI is 40 or more, I always do what's called an ACEs test screening, which basically screens for childhood trauma, because that is often what happens for a couple of reasons. One, your fight or flight reaction becomes really well honed. That means your cortisol levels shoot up at the slightest thing. And so when your cortisol levels shoot up very easily, what that means, your body makes fat very easily from food. The other is we tend to turn to things that we can control when we're in situations that we cannot control out externally. And food often becomes one of those controls. So we can get easy access to food. We can eat. We use food also produces what's called a dopamine reaction. It's kind of like a drug. And so it's a soother. It becomes self-soothing. So yes, we tend to overeat in those situations. And when you combine eating with high cortisol, it creates this, for lack of a better term, perfect storm of weight gain. And it's a vicious cycle weight gain. It's actually you gain weight very easily, even more easily than most people. So yes, sexual abuse and trauma absolutely is tied to obesity, not just in women, in men too. So hello, Quana from Atlantic City and Holly from Charleston. Val says, my question is, I just did a month on 15 milligrams. I think 15 is really intense. I'm 6 pounds from goal. Well, I mean, that's something you should talk to your doctor about. You're probably at going into maintenance. I tend not to stick to weight goals because our body tends to go where we want it to go when it's healthy. And so I just let the bodies go where they go, and I don't usually go by a number. So talk to your doctor about that. Maintenance is usually less than the medication of dose that got you there. What are your thoughts on weight being hereditary? Weight is not hereditary, but there is a genetic component to how your body gains weight. So, how your body reacts to food is definitely something that can be genetic, um, but that doesn't mean it can't be fixed and it can't be countered. Um, Especially when it comes to things like glucose dysregulation. There are a lot of, if you're somebody has a lot of diabetes in your family, you're probably have a genetic code that makes it very easy to gain weight. Val said, I'm thinking of dropping to 7.5 because I have stock of this, but I also have 2 more boxes of 15. I'm thinking of 15 much too much for your thoughts. My thoughts are talk to your doctor. That's a discussion. Your doctor who knows you well, the person who's been prescribing for you, should be the one having that discussion, because this is when the art of medicine comes in. This is when knowing a patient really well helps with this discussion. There's certain things that are basic, like the titration up is a basic kind of standard thing that we do. But when you get to the point of maintenance, that's when it becomes very individualized, and that's when you need to talk to the person who knows you best. What is your option on the shot Moderna? I'm assuming you mean what is my opinion on the shot Moderna? Explain. For what? Because it depends on what it's being used for. Um, Shannon, I heard her. Oh, I don't know. Oh, hey, Glenda from Aiken. I'm from Aiken. Nice to see you. Um, how long can you stay on Wegovy? I've been taking it for 1 year and I've reached my weight loss goals. It's weight. Wegovy is a lifelong medication. How you lose your weight. So this is the rule. How you gain your weight, or the reason that you gain your weight, is the way that you lose your weight. So if you gain your weight because of metabolic dysregulation, then it takes a medication to make it go away. How you lose your weight is how you keep it off. If you lost your weight through a metabolic medication, then it's a metabolic medication that will keep it off. Now, it may not be at the same dose, it may not be at the same frequency, but if you stop the medication, if you stop the reason that helped you gain weight, that weight will come back. Any disease that is being treated by a medicine and you stop the medicine, that disease comes back. Period. So if you reached what you feel is your goal, regardless of whether it's your health goal or your weight goal, which I don't use weight goals, I go by health goals. So, a lot of people have weight goals that I really don't put them in a healthy place. And so it's not about weight, it's about your health. So if you're on Wegovy and you've reached a point where your energy levels are high, your weight is at a healthy place, your joints are all functioning, your body's functioning like you're supposed to, you're eating well and you're eating healthily, then you talk to your doctor about adjusting your dose and adjusting your frequency. But if you stop it altogether, all that weight you've lost will come back. So hello from Blythewood, South Carolina. Woohoo! South Kakalaki in the house. Val said, I agree about the scale. Okay. Shannon Douglas, what do you know about Zepbound? What don't I know about Zepbound? I know a whole lot about Zepbound. I am an expert in Zepbound. Zepbound is a weight loss medication, GLP-1 tirzepatide. It's a GIP, GLP combination medication that is very, very effective for weight loss. It's very safe, and it's a very good one if required. Now, again, like most GLP-1s, if you have an underlying metabolic reason for gaining weight, metabolic medications help with the weight loss. And that is it's just a very good. It's the best of the GLP-1s. So, hi, all the way from Aiken, South Carolina. Well, not all the way from South Carolina, because you know I'm in South Carolina too, George. So nice to meet you. Thank you for coming. Um, how long can you stay on the maintenance dose? You should be on a maintenance dose probably for the rest of your life. Again, how you lose the weight is how you keep it off. So if you lose the weight, the combination of medication, muscle, and mind work and mindfulness, then you keep it off in the same way. If you stop the medication, like hypertension, if you're taking a blood pressure medicine for high blood pressure, you stop taking the medicine, your blood pressure is going to go back up. Same thing with weight. It's a disease that's being treated. It's not doesn't work on magic. It's actually working on something, on an actual disease. Good evening, Dr. Tuna. Looking lovely tonight. Thank you, Marsha. Thank you. Tanya, diabetes drug used to lose weight. No, there's two. It's a diabetes drug and it's a weight loss drug. So Zepbound is a diabetic drug, is a weight loss version. Mounjaro is a diabetes version. The reason diabetes drugs work is because weight gain and diabetes are all on the same continuum. You gain weight by the same mechanism that diabetes happens. The medication works on the exact same receptors, the exact same mechanism that causes diabetes. And so again, like I say, if you take Tylenol when you don't have a headache, what does it do? Nothing. If you take these medications and you don't have a metabolic issue, they don't do anything. If you lose weight on them, there is an underlying metabolic issue that's being treated. So they're the medications, just like you have different medications with different indications on how to use them. We use anti-seizure medications for different types of bipolar disorders. We use all sorts of medications for many different types of diseases that aren't even related. And so, yeah, GLP-1s are both diabetes medications and metabolic weight gain medications. Good evening, all the way from England. Well, thank you for joining all the way from England. What time is it there? It must be almost midnight. Well, thank you for joining. DJ, thank you. Hey, Betty from Mississippi. Nice to meet you. So Val says, I don't believe that BMI charts to calculate weight. Charts should say 135 at 5'4", and I'm happy at 156, 65, 170. And a lot of it depends on age. BMI charts and weight charts are suggestions, not absolutes. And so if you have more muscle mass, you're going to be heavier on a scale. It doesn't mean that you're unhealthy. It just means that you have more muscle, which actually is healthier state, to be honest. So no, it is not absolute. However, there are some connections to BMI and health. Yes, if you're near what's considered a normal BMI and you're a little bit higher, then no, you don't go by BMI. However, if your BMI is excessively high, I don't care what anyone says, it is unhealthy, no matter what anyone wants to believe. Because fat in the body wreaks havoc. It causes problems, all sorts of problems. I started experiencing bloating on Zepbound. Then I changed to 12.5 dosage and they took me off for 2 weeks. That means you have doctors who are paying attention. You will have bloating just because it does cause constipation. Usually a probiotic and a magnesium citrate helps with that. But again, talk to your doctors. Sometimes it's dose related, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's related to dehydration, how much water you drink. You need to drink extra water if you're on a GLP-1. Just the basic amount is not enough. You need to drink extra. Marshall, you're welcome. Thanks. Oh, you're from Perry from Dallas. So Val said you have more muscle and you're 65. Yeah. So when you're older, you do not go by BMI charts. And the reason is if you start getting down to the size that the charts say you should be, usually as you're older, that means you've lost muscle and you probably lost some bone. We do not recommend it. If you're able to move and you have the energy you need and you're not having any other secondary problems from your weight, it is not necessary to lose it just because a chart says so. And I'm going to repeat that. Just because a chart says you should be a particular weight, if you are moving well, you're healthy, you're sleeping well, you're eating well, you're able to do all the things you need to do, and you have all the energy that you need, you don't have to lose weight. There's no reason to lose weight. You only lose weight if there is if it's causing some biological, psychological, or social issue. And it has to be a real issue, not somebody else thinks you should lose weight. So Amanda asked, what do I do if I'm gaining weight on a GLP-1? Talk to your physician. What that means is that you are probably overriding the medication. One of two things. One, your weight gain isn't being caused by a metabolic issue, or two, you're under a lot of stress and it's overriding the medication. Or three, you're under eating, so your body thinks you're starving, so it's taking everything you eat and turning it into fat. So something's overriding the medication, or you're on too low of a dose for you. It is a dose dependent medication. So it really just depends on what dose you're on. Will being on weight loss medication for a long time cause any effect on your kidneys or your liver? It will protect your kidneys and it will protect your liver. What you're preventing are all the side effects of what happens when someone's diabetic. So what happens when someone's diabetic is their kidneys fail. Their liver becomes fatty. They go blind. They have heart disease. They have stiffening arteries in their brain and everywhere else in their body. So what these medications do is prevent that. The only thing that causes kidney issues in someone who's taking a GLP-1 is if you don't drink enough water, so you cause kidney problems. However, that will happen with anybody who doesn't drink enough. Dehydration hits your kidneys kind of hard. So all you got to do is just drink enough water. But that's for everybody, whether you're on the medicine or not. Thank you, Shannon. What can you use for the flabby skin? I say use a mind check. Enjoy it. I mean, flabby skin is the privilege we have for having lost the weight and getting healthy. You can use lotions. You can use, I guess there's certain types of sonograms that can do certain things. Laser treatments that can tighten up skin and cause collagen to reproduce. But mostly it is the privilege we enjoy for having gotten healthy. Including stretch marks are another thing we enjoy for having gotten healthy. So accept it. That's my take. That's what I've done. I mean, I've lost 100 pounds. I've had 2 babies. There are areas of my body that are flabby, and I'd rather them be flabby than full of fat. So, how can you gain weight when you're on Concerta? That's difficult. If Concerta is making you not hungry, basically what you do is talk to your doctor, but basically what you try to do is to eat high densely concentrated caloric foods. So things that are healthy also. So like where you can add things like coconut oil to stews so that it adds more calories to what you're eating and it might add some good flavor, but won't, cause you too many issues. Drinking shakes like extra, like in between meals, have meals and then have a protein shake in between, or have meals and protein shakes together. Use the things we do to help people who need to gain weight, particularly like after surgeries or who are for whatever reason or trying to bulk up for competitions, for example. You see athletes doing this quite a bit. So yeah, protein shakes and meals combined. It's really, really hard to gain weight on food alone because most of us are not overeaters. And so you've got to make sure that you get some type of extra calories in a small amount. And usually, meal supplements do that. But you don't supplement a meal, you add it to your meal so that you get extra calories. Poochie says, I'm on a GLP-1 and I'm the end, ready for maintenance. I started taking the supplement creatine less month ago. Everything was fine, but now my feet and ankles are swelling. I do not drink a lot of water. It's very, you need to talk to your doctor when your ankle and feet are swelling. That can be for lots of different reasons. Don't self, diagnose and give yourself the reason that ankles and feet swell. There's many reasons that can happen. Medication, heart failure, um, so if you're taking a supplement that's suddenly causing you problems, one, stop taking it. The other is talk to your doctor immediately. Feet and ankle swelling is not something that should be ignored. Always find out why. That's not something, a symptom that you should guess about. That needs to be worked up. Any other questions? No. Well, I hope this was helpful. Um, and again, if you come up with any more questions, for those of you who know, I'm also in a group, have my group on Facebook, and it's total. Oh gosh, I just blanked. Total wellness and weight loss. So total wellness plus weight care is my group, and you can also ask me questions on Facebook. You can ask me questions mostly on YouTube is the best place, and then share this with your friends and family if you think it's something that they might find interesting or helpful. I'm also on TikTok as Dr. Tumor Talks, which is where the name of my show came from, and I'm here every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern live. So if there are no more questions, well, I'm going to bid you good night, and I hope to see you all again next week. Thank you for the great questions. These are some really good questions, and I hope to see you again next week. Good night.